The Treasury Department just releasing guidance on the Inflation Reduction Act's hydrogen production tax credit. Some say it could hinder the hydrogen industry in the United States rather than grow it. So let's bring in someone who is directly involved for more on the impact now on companies in general. Let's bring in Andy Marsh, President and CEO of Plug Power. So Andy, your first reaction to the guidance that was issued Friday by the Treasury?
Disappointing. I think many of us feel it did not follow the law. The people who were primarily responsible for writing it, people like Senator Carper and Senator Manchin, have said so. So there is a great deal of disappointment. That being said, there's a lot of work still to be done. It certainly makes Europe much more attractive than the United States in the near term. So, but there is now a comment period, and Plug will aggressively participate in the comment period.
Yeah, there is a 60-day comment period, and I can imagine there will be intense lobbying, Andy. But can you give us some specifics on why this hydrogen credit, which does provide, $3 per kilogram of production, why it won't spur more domestic production?
Yeah. So, out of nowhere, there were three additions that was made administratively by the Biden administration associated with a concept called a regionality, which really limits the regions that you can use to generate the hydrogen versus the grid. I think the one that really has people the most excited is additionality, which limits the use of nuclear power with electrolyzers to create green hydrogen, as well as hydropower. Certainly puts many of the hydrogen hubs at risk, as well as time matching, something Europe realized you could not implement until after 2030. They worked on this issue for a long time, and the regulations that stand today states 2028. Let me go a little bit more positive. We think from a Plug perspective, we can work around the regionality issues. May not be great for the whole hydrogen industry, but it is something we can work around. And look, the document's hundreds and hundreds of pages. And what we found so far, there is many contradictions. And there'll be an aggressive effort by ourselves and others in the industry to help straighten the regulations out. And also another positive, I can say I've talked to many senators who tell me that it will get easier, not harder. So we do expect the regulations to loosen up.
As you fight some of these regulations, as you fight some of these new rules, what are you most looking for, and how much do you expect the Biden administration to actually meet in the middle?
I think the Biden administration is hearing lots from political appointees, lots from the hydrogen hubs. There were 7 hydrogen hubs which were announced in November, which would put at risk. I'm hopeful that the voices of leading senators, the voices of leading governors will have, as well as companies, will have influence in modifying the rules to be aligned, quite honestly, with the legislation.
Andy, it's worth asking also, these new rules, what is the economic impact in your estimation?
We spent a lot of time, probably spent millions of dollars working with consultants, understanding the regulations and the impact. And our initial take from our models is that it reduces the hydrogen output in the United States by 2030 by 70%. And the U.S. will not be able to achieve its green hydrogen goals, which includes, reaching 30 gigawatts per day by 2030. We think that number is now in the 6 or 7 gigawatts range. And that's why I think we're confident there will be changes once there is a comment period for the regulations.
Andy, what do you say to those that say, look, hydrogen might be clean on its own, but when it's used in conjunction with natural gas or some other kind of fossil fuel, it's a dirty source of energy?
Well, I would take a look. I also could say electric vehicles are a dirty source of energy.
For sure,
many of them run on coal. But I think it is a journey. Plug is involved with green hydrogen. which means you have to have a renewable source online to provide the generation. And I think, when we look at it, you're never able to scale the industry to where you need to go unless you provide a playing field that's open during the next 5 or 6 years. So businesses can scale electrolyzers, which are the key critical component in generating green hydrogen, so that they're cost effective. When these laws were written, they were written with the purpose of driving down the costs of electrolyzers to match fossil fuel generated energy. And by tightening the rules, we actually are delaying ultimately a source of energy which is important for 26% of the reduction in CO2 in time. So, it is disappointing, but I think the administration will keep an open mind, and I would expect some changes.
Andy, just on a personal note, with Plug Power on your third quarter earnings call, you did, mention the various ways you were trying to raise money. Obviously, the stock has been, on a little bit of a journey, let's say, in the last few years. Can you give us an update on your conversations with the Department of Energy?
Sure. We're moving it. We expect in the first quarter we'll be making an announcement. But I think more important, Plug has a very, very strong balance sheet. We have a balance sheet that's close to $5 billion. We have great customers, and this has been a very tough year. But it's my experience when you take a look. Does anyone really believe fossil fuels is the answer for the future? And Plug is the leading pure play hydrogen company in the world. So I feel confident about the coming year.
Andy, thank you so much for your time. That is Andy Marsh. He is the president and CEO of Plug Power.